What is up, Earth's mightiest subscribers? It's Ernie Blerd without fear. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so today's video is going to be all about X-Men number 11 by Jonathan Hickman and Lionel Francis Yu. And in today's video, we are going to talk about a little game that the Summoner, one of Apocalypse's great-grandchildren, plays on the island of Araco that he is teaching to the mutants of Krakoa, and how ominous this game may actually potentially be. And more importantly, we are going to remind people why you should always keep respect on Magneto's name. We're going to talk about all that and more right now. But first, wash your damn hands. And let's hit that intro.
Word to wise, grass only greener when it's fertilized. Gave them truth in these songs, they prefer to lies. Destiny beautiful, adrift in her purple eyes. You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Evie and make it look easy.
Before we get started, if you want to see more awesome comic book videos like this one, it only takes 2 clicks to become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers. Click.
First things first, let's get this little game out of the way. You see, the Summoner, who is one of the grandchildren of the original, or great-grandchildren of the original 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, we know that are going to be pulling up on Krakoa during the Ten of Swords story arc that's coming up very soon. Some of the younger X-Men, like Rockslide and Loa, they pull up on Summoner while he's playing a game. And the game, the way he describes it, seems like it's something more than what it really is. But basically, it seems kind of like a game of chess, only it's not really chess. Even when he tries to tell them what the name of the game is, he can't say it in Krakoan tongue. He's using Arakan tongue. But he says that the closest word that would translate would be trial or test. It's basically kind of a test your might situation. Basically, the way this game works is that it can be played either with 1 person or 2, though Summoner says that it is better played with 2. And what happens is when the game is played, you do not finish until the game is finished. Something that he ominously tells Rockslide when Rockslide volunteers to play the game at all. And he further explains that the game, it requires one to learn about the strengths and weaknesses of the person they're playing against, even if it's against oneself. And when Rockslide asks the question, what if you don't have any weaknesses? Summoner just ominously replies that it always starts that way, revealing that yeah, eventually at some point, I'm gonna learn what your weakness is. I want to point out that Summoner is never not smiling in this entire exchange. Like, at no point does he ever seem to not have a smile on his face. Right before they're about to start playing, which I want to point out how also ominous it is, that when Rockslide picks up his piece to play the game, it turns into himself. But they don't get a chance to play, and we don't really get to see how this plays out because it's roughly about this time that the Kotati have once again tried to invade Krakoan grounds. This time, not pulling up on just the moon where the summer house is, but now pulling up on Krakoa proper with 3 warships inbound, ready to invade. Now, there's a part that happens a little bit before this, but technically it takes place after the events we're going to talk about. So we'll talk about that a little closer towards the end of the book. But one of the things I appreciate is that when the Kotati pull up on Krakoa, Magic and Gorgon immediately run to get a hold of Magneto. They tell Magneto what the situation is, that the Kotati have pulled up, and Magneto steps up to the plate. Magic is going to go help out at the summer house, so somebody has to stay behind and fight, and Magneto is more than willing to do it. Now, we've seen Magneto in his dress whites pretty much since House of X. We haven't really seen him too often in his classic costume, except for in flashbacks. But now, for the first time, officially in a present-day shot since House of X, we actually get to see Magneto in that classic red and purple. And I gotta admit, man, I never realized how much I missed that suit. The fact that he says, "Let me dress for the occasion," it sent chills down my spine just reading that line. I love it because from this moment forward, this becomes a masterclass in what Magneto is all about and how deadly he can be. When he goes into battle with Kotati, of course, Magneto is an Omega level mutant. He knows how to handle his powers. He has done more unique things with his powers than most mutants could even imagine. And of course, we learn in a document prior to this that, yeah, the mutants have realized that, yeah, we have been kind of in peacetime. We have a danger island, a whole island where people can go and train in hand-to-hand combat and how to use their powers, but not very many people are using it. The actual yield of people using Danger Island is about roughly 2% or less. And they find that incredibly disturbing because, yes, even though no one should be forced on the island to become a warrior, everyone should be allowed to live their lives as they see fit. And this is something that everyone seems to agree with. But at the end of the day, they have to be prepared to defend themselves in light of the incursions that they have been facing, not just from the Kotati, but other people who've tried to pull up on the island. This is actually kind of paying credence to the fact, and something Wolverine has even brought up in the pages of X-Force, the fact that being on Krakoa has made them very soft. Even Wolverine has admitted to becoming soft as a result of this, that, you know, the safety and the warmth and the succor that Krakoa provides to them has softened them. And what we learn from this is that in light of all this, Bishop has been keeping tabs on, you know, some of these instances, the fact that, you know, the mutants aren't using Danger Island, they're not very well trained in unarmed or armed combat, or even in the usage of their powers for either offensive or defensive means. And what they have planned to do is that Bishop is going to be starting a war college to train people, to get people up to speed on how to use their abilities. They've also been operating in ways to find out how to best use the Five, using them as more than just mutants who can revive those who have died, but also using their abilities in tandem for more offensive and defensive purposes, and even taking other mutants and interjecting them into scenarios and seeing how they can work in tandem with one another. If the Five can work together to bring people back to life, then it stands to reason that other mutants could work together to achieve other means. And that's what they've been doing, and Magneto himself has been the subject of it. They've come up with roughly 40 different combat tactics using the combined powers of multiple mutants, 28 that are offensive and 12 that are defensive. Now, I also want to point out, when they put up a list of, you know, the protocols regarding Omega level mutants, those are all redacted with the exception of see below regarding enchanted techniques, which are what I just talked about. The reason why that part is important is because you gotta remember Magneto is an Omega level mutant, and he is working in tandem with other Omega level mutants like Iceman. Magneto, when he pulls up on the Kotati, he is running roughshod on them. His barbershop has opened up. He's got seats lined up all up and down the aisle. No reservations required. You don't have to call in. You could just walk in right now and get lined up tight, just like that. And one of the things I love about this is the fact that, you know, even Magic says that, yeah, we've been doing this for months. We've actually been fighting the Kotati, and we've actually been getting really good at it, like scary good at it. She doesn't even want to enjoy the fact that, you know, they have been in war so much lately over, you know, the course of Empyre, but it's actually been to their benefit. But right now, what Magneto plans to do is to use one of the Stepford Cuckoos to interface with the others across the island and in other locales, and basically work with Magma and Iceman to create a perfect storm that Magneto can take control of. You see, what they're going to do is they know about the volcanic activity on the island, that Krakoa's volcanic activity is self-generated. It just happens when it wants it to happen. And that a ways back, they found a deep enough vein of molten rock that they could use, and if Magma would be able to access it and bring it to the surface. But of course, without creating too much devastation to Krakoa itself. And what Magma's gonna do is make that molten rock rise, and then have Iceman come in with his negative temperature abilities and cool it down. Because you gotta think about it, what is in that molten rock? It's metal, and it's gonna be shaped and hardened by Iceman. What is Magneto gonna do with all of it? He's gonna make it rain. And in this, Magneto borderline takes out most of the Kotati by himself. Now, of course, the leader of the Kotati in this particular invasion, he is one of the last ones left standing, and he is prepared to face Magneto down as warriors normally would in situations like this. Now, Magneto is offering him the opportunity to walk away from all this, to make peace, make amends, be friends even in all this. But the Kotati general, He has no interest in it. He is talking mighty spicy for a guy who literally was defeated about 8 pages ago. The reason why I say this is because Magneto had already spoken with Sage while he was, organizing his tactics with Iceman and Magma. You see, they are satellites that are hovering over the Earth, some that are owned by Krakoa, others that are owned by other governments, and some that are owned by militaries that are off the books, that are secret, that nobody should even know about. While old Not Groot here has been talking spicy to Magneto about how he's going to kill him and that this fight is going to go the way all other countless fights he has been in up to this point have gone, that he is going to be the victor, Magneto is doing nothing because he doesn't have to. He's already done it. Magneto has pulled a Watchman. His master plan was enacted 35 minutes ago. So when the Kotati general says, if you're looking for a fight, then fight me, Magneto simply says, I already have. And before he can even take a step, he looks up and suddenly one satellite crashes upon him. And as he shoves it away, then another satellite, until the Kotati general has been laid to waste. He even uses the remaining satellites to destroy the 3 ships that Kotati arrived in. And when asked what to do about the satellites, he does say that they are going to pay for the satellites to the governments that they destroyed. However, the ones that the military owned that were, nobody was supposed to know about, they're not going to say anything about it because they weren't supposed to know about them in the first place. And Magneto then takes the rest of his troops, the rest of his mutants, and then they ride out to the moon to finish the fight. Now, there's an instance that happens in this book in between all of what we just talked about that I thought was very interesting because I literally just talked about it in my video for Hellions number 3, which I actually had put together prior to this video. That said, I thought it was very interesting that they brought up the whole aspect of death and the effect that it can have on the mutants who live on Krakoa. The children that Exodus is teaching, he's trying to teach them about the ways of Krakoa and what it means to be a hero and why they don't just destroy humanity and be done with it. Because they clearly have the power to do so. They clearly have the resources to do so. What's stopping them? Because at the end of the day, the question that Exodus is asking the children is simple. Are they afraid? He's asking this question because he does mention that it is important that they not lie to each other, that they have nothing but truths between them, because he wants to let them know that there were mutants that died on this day during that battle with Magneto versus the Kotati. Yes, there were mutants who were killed. We even saw some that died, one of which was Toad. But the deaths aren't exactly why he's asking, because what he's trying to get them to understand is that their lives, as precious as they are and as needed as they are for the safety and protection of the island and the community, the race as a whole, their lives could be snuffed out at any time. He's asking them if they're afraid because he's letting them know that at some point in time they will die. He's preparing them for death. And now one of the children who eerily looks like Kid Omega but is not Kid Omega because he's clearly too young, one of the children simply says that, yeah, I'm not afraid. And the rest say, yeah, I'm not afraid either because we can be brought back. The mutants who died, they could be brought back. But Exodus reminds them of something that I actually tried to remind people of with that Hellions number 3 video. Just because you died and you were resurrected doesn't mean the death didn't happen. You can erase the effect, but not the cause. Death is still a thing. Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like the fact that they can resurrect themselves, that if they die, it means nothing and it seems like some kind of cheap ploy to get, cheap heat or a cheap pop or whatever. But that's actually not what it's all about. And that's something I've been trying to explain to people since Dawn of X began. Just because they can be brought back doesn't mean that those deaths don't mean anything. I mean, yeah, now on some of the more comedic sides of things, Kid Omega has died at least 8 times I can think of. And in each time, and one of the more recent ones I think was in X-Force number 11, he even points like, oh God, not again. Not because, the readers are tiring of it, but because he is tiring of it. He doesn't want to die because dying sucks. Yeah, you get to be resurrected. That doesn't mean that you don't remember what happened to you. That doesn't mean that you don't still remember the pain and the trauma of it happening. You're never going to become numb to that. And if you do, that would be an even bigger problem. And the children stand firm that they do not fear death. They only fear man and those who are like him. And Exodus says the same thing that he said the last time we saw him teaching a class, back when we first witnessed the Crucible. He says, just look at the world that they have made. And of course, reminding them that you cannot stop someone from being what they are. Yeah, they could destroy them, they could kill them, they could completely wipe humanity off the face of the map, but they would basically become the enemy that they are afraid of. And they don't want to be that. They want to grow beyond that. So a lot of people think that, oh, the mutants are the bad guys now, but at the end of the day, you really think about it. If the X-Men were really the bad guys now, they would just go pull up on humanity and kill them all. They wouldn't have rules that say kill no man. They wouldn't go to press conferences and secret meetings with foreign and domestic leaders telling them that, no, we're not going to war with you. Magneto said it best. We're just gonna buy all your shit and we're gonna basically take it from you. That's not going to war in the sense that everyone's thinking about. You think about it, that's actually something that happens in the real world right now, is that when certain businesses that have been owned by a particular group of people for a long time, and then another group of people, probably a completely different group from the group that currently owns it, not trying to be specific, but they come along and buy that company out and then bring that wealth to their community. We see this all the time. We just don't think about it in those grandiose terms. The things that the mutants on Krakoa can't create for themselves, they'll just buy from the humans the way the humans do to themselves. Exodus is asking them this because he wants them to recognize that what Magneto did today, he is a hero. That Magneto is a hero because he does what is necessary, that he is willing to fight for those who can't fight for themselves, that he is willing to lay his life on the line for those that he loves. And he's teaching them to think the exact same way. That is why he asked them if they're afraid. Even at the end, asking them, what is your hero's name? And they all say Magneto. And what is Magneto? He is a mutant. And that message really resonates because, I feel personally like, yeah, that's basically saying that, yeah, he's a hero. And guess what? He's also a mutant. That would be basically me being no different than saying that, yeah, this guy right here is a hero. And you know what? He's also this. And you can be a hero just like him because guess what? You are also this. This is basically affirmation that you can be whatever you want to be. You can be as great as this person that I'm telling you this grandiose story about. That is 100% true. We've always thought of the X-Men, the mutants of Marvel as being, the allegory for, civil rights and, minorities and, differently able people, so on and so forth. And this rings no different here. But anyways, enough with the Sermon on the Mountain. That said, I enjoyed this book. It was a really good book. I thought it was awesome. It was great to see Magneto just in his glory again, just doing what he does best, running fades and just taking people out. And also more importantly, just seeing how much respect he commands on that island, which is a thing of beauty. But anyways, let me know what you guys thought about X-Men number 11 by Jonathan Hickman and Lionel Francis Yu. Wash your damn hands and sound off in the comments. So hey, you made it to the end of the video. Awesome for you. If you enjoyed this video, and if you made it this far, I don't see how you didn't, do me a favor. Hulk smash that like button. And if you want to see more awesome videos like this one, make sure you click subscribe so you can become one of Earth's mightiest subscribers, and tap that bell so you know when I post up. Also, feel free to go check out my Patreon, where if you chuck in a buck, you can get early access to most of my videos up to a week early. And if you have time, make sure you swing by nerd901.com, where you can find more of my content as well as other amazing stuff. Anyways, until next time, I love you 3000 plus ultra.